before we get there, we want to do our standard format, take a quick look back at a story we've told you about before. This is a story you may remember. We talked about it just here recently because this particular nominee of the Biden administration is up for debate right now. And she's not doing so well in the debate, let's say, because she actually is a card-carrying communist and doesn't want to admit it. Now,
imagine that.
Can you imagine the administration that would put in place a nominee? This nomination is for Comptroller of the Currency, and it's a lady named Saule Omarova, who's a law professor right now at Cornell. She was born in the former Soviet Union in what's now Kazakhstan, but at the time it was the USSR. She graduated from Moscow State University in 1991, having written her thesis on, and this is the title of it, Karl Marx's Economic Analysis and the Theory of Revolution in the Capital, Das Kapital. So she wrote her thesis on Karl Marx's theories. Do you think it was, at Moscow State University, do you think it was a pro-Karl Marx thesis, or do you think it was an anti-Karl Marx thesis? Well, nobody knows, right? Nobody knows, because not only has she sent it down the memory hole, she's taken it off her curriculum vitae, her resume, basically, that appears on the Cornell website. They've totally removed any reference to her thesis, which, by the way, up until 2017, at least, this thesis was listed as her thesis on her CV. So they've taken it off of there. The UK Daily Mail has asked for a copy of the thesis from Moscow State University, and would you believe it, Moscow State University says, we do not have the thesis. It was destroyed long ago, and we do not have a copy. Of course not. How was that, Pat George? Was that pretty good for my little FPS
I was wondering where you got that audio from.
Where'd the audio come from, right? I just made that up right here on the spot. So, but naturally, Moscow State University didn't keep a copy of this thesis. That would probably totally invalidate this lady's ability to become controller of the currency here in the United States. So somebody who believes in Karl Marx and his revolutionary ideology has now been nominated to be controller of the currency. And this is your president doing this, the Biden administration, right? They're putting card-carrying communists into high-level U.S. government positions. And this is just one of the card-carrying communists that we can prove what she is. Now, we had a little audio from her because she was interviewed recently talking about the oil and gas industry and understand what these people are trying to do here. And she's going to tell you very, very blatantly. Somebody put it, she said the quiet part out loud, the part you're not supposed to say, she said out loud in an interview. She's going to tell you what they're trying to do to the oil and gas industry, again, in pursuit of this concept of fighting climate change. They want to literally get rid of the oil and gas industry completely, which is the entire basis for energy use, consumption, production on our planet is the oil and gas industry. So if we get rid of that, it means getting rid of everybody's electricity, right? We don't have a ready substitute. There's not enough wind turbines out in Texas that freeze up, by the way, when it's cold. There's not enough of those to power all of our energy needs. We don't have enough nuclear in process or online to power all of our energy needs. So literally what they're talking about is people not having energy, not having heat to heat their homes when it's cold. That's a big deal. Listen to what she has to say.
For certain troubled industries and firms that are in transitioning. And here what I'm thinking about is primarily coal industry and oil and gas industry. A lot of the smaller players in that industry are going to probably go bankrupt in short order. At least we want them to go bankrupt if we want to tackle climate change, right?
Oh, okay.
Thanks a lot.
So
I know her accent's a little hard to make out, but
there aren't any better candidates for this position that are not communists and, believe in Marxism and ways to ruin our capitalist society.
I'm sorry, comrade. This is the best we have got. This is the best we have got.
What has to happen?
Primarily coal industry and oil and gas industry. At least we want them to go bankrupt.
We want them to go bankrupt.
Tackle climate change, right?
Right there. She says the quiet part out loud. We want them to go bankrupt.
Wow. So is she going to be in this position? What has to happen? She has to get voted in or approved?
She has to get approved. Advice and consent. Remember, the Senate has the power to essentially approve these nominees. And this makes you wonder, you have Biden recently talking about this, and just it sort of puts some of his comments in a whole new context. Listen to this little clip from your president.
Do you ever think you'd be paying this much for a gallon of gas?
I know it's a little hard to make out his accent as well, because he's doing that thing again where he's making all the words into one word. So now, did you ever is now Jever. Jever. Did you ever think, but listen. See, it's doing that thing where I can only play it once and then I've got to reload it.
Do you ever think you'd be paying this much for a gallon of gas?
Yeah, did you ever think you'd be playing this much for a gallon of gas?
Almost a little bit like chastising, like, see, gas is a bad thing. Gas is expensive.
Gas is bad. Your car is bad. You're polluting. You're making it hotter or colder or just change. You're making the climate change, since we can't actually track the hotter and colder. But think about that. What they're telling you, if you'll listen to them, just listen to what they say. I mean, isn't that one of the keys that we didn't do with the Islamic terrorists? When they said, we want to destroy you, we want to kill Americans, we said, oh, no, they're just talking. No, if we just listen to what people tell us, they'll often tell us exactly what they intend to do, and that's what the Biden administration is doing here. They intend to try to bankrupt the oil and gas industry. Part of that is going to be these rising prices that we're seeing as they shut down alternative means of supply, like they shut down the Keystone XL pipeline to bring down the oil sands. All the money we poured into building that, in conjunction with Canada, all the efforts that we put into building that pipeline, just out the window. They don't care. They're going to bankrupt the U.S. federal government.
What about that Michigan line, too?
And the Michigan line as well. And so, we've got all these issues, and we don't even want to produce our own energy. This is leading us to a place. This is coming to a point. This is not an accident. That's my point. It's not an accident. This is not something that's just happening accidentally, where they didn't know this lady is a communist and they didn't know what they're doing to the oil and gas industry, and they didn't know what they were going to do to gas prices. And how did this happen? We were so sorry. We tried, but we just didn't get it right. No, they're getting it right according to what they want to accomplish. They're absolutely getting it right. They want to make it too expensive for you to have a car powered by gasoline. The crazy thing is, where do you think the electricity comes from to power your electrical vehicle? That's coming from some coal-fired plant, some natural. I mean, that's not coming from, the sun magically. The sun just comes down into our electrical vehicles and powers them all. That's not what's happening. Thank you for listening to the Morgan Streetman Show. We hope you enjoyed what you heard, and if you did, please click like and subscribe to help us out. And remember that we recommend that you exercise your brain at least once a week.